Hello and welcome to the Stretch Zone. My name's Glenn Vidalco. I'm a Master Executive Coach and Facilitator in talent, teams and leadership, and author of the Stretch Zone. In this post, we'll explore the background to the Stretch Zone, giving you a front row seat into the context out of which the Stretch Zone emerged, something my clients have found to be hugely helpful over the years, helping us to think about ourselves and about our confidence differently. So, what's the context and background to the Stretch Zone? Imagine a training room in a hotel somewhere around the world. Imagine it's a leadership development event with a group of highly capable and experienced leaders, people who've been identified in their organizations as top talent, people who've been fast-tracked as talent to achieve great things and lead the organization into the future. And at the workshop, imagine they've been challenged and put under pressure and taken outside their comfort zones. Imagine these capable people who are dripping with talent and potential. Imagine them feeling uncomfortable under pressure, unintentionally clinging to the apparent safety of their comfort zones. And in spite of their knowledge, skills and experience, rather than stepping up and seizing the moment, imagine them avoiding opportunities, holding themselves back, being less than what they know is within their potential. And imagine them feeling stuck in this way and incredibly frustrated with the situation and frustrated mostly with themselves. Imagine this situation repeated over many years across different industries, different brands, different countries, and different cultures. And if you've imagined all that, you've imagined the context and background to the Stretch Zone. And truth be told, the reality is you and I are unlikely to be any different. Everyone has a stretch zone, and confidence is a challenge for everyone who has the courage to step outside their comfort zones. So, what happens next? Now, imagine these people experiencing a profound shift within themselves as they learn to connect with themselves and with their confidence differently, where it's as if a light within switches on, where something within seems to have clicked into place. Imagine them seeing an age-old problem differently, discovering something within themselves, something they've known deep down has always been there, but has somehow seemed just out of reach. And connecting with themselves and with their confidence differently, they find themselves in a very different place. And rather being stuck on repeat, holding themselves back under pressure, imagine them stepping outside their comfort zones as they seize the moment. Imagine them standing firm, grounded, focused, strong and resolved. And imagine them overcoming one of the biggest obstacles to their talents and potential. No one other than themselves. Imagine them going out into the world, at home and at work, no longer incapacitated by fear and doubt and a perceived lack of confidence. Imagine them making positive steps, some big, some small, as they begin to trust themselves, be themselves and enjoy themselves. In a nutshell, that sums up the background and context out of which the Stretch Zone emerged. And this is very important. What remains to be imagined is for you to pause for a moment and realize that this is not so much an imaginary story about someone else. This is an actual story about you, no different to anyone else. So, what makes the background to the stretch zone so helpful? What clients find so helpful in hearing about the background to the stretch zone is that they realize that everyone else also struggles with being at their confident best under pressure, that it's not just me. And as people begin to broaden their understanding, it makes a reassuringly helpful difference. It's as if a huge weight has been lifted, that I'm not so different, and that there's hope and a way forward. So, what's the stretch zone all about? The stretch zone's about natural confidence under pressure, from the inside out. The stretch zone's about unlocking our ideas and potential. It's about no longer holding ourselves back. It's about no longer being our own biggest impediment to our dreams and aspirations. The stretch zone's about becoming who we are by coming out of what we are not. It's about what we need to stop doing as we step away from what doesn't work, and what we need to start doing and start being as we step up to what does work. The stretch zone's about seeing an age-old problem differently as we learn to channel our efforts and energy differently. So, what is it about the stretch zone that makes such a difference for people and organizations in practice? The underlying reason why the stretch zone makes such a difference for my clients over the years is that it cuts to the chase and addresses the heart of the problem and addresses that problem differently. When coaching and facilitating, what became clearly apparent is that the underlying problem is not our knowledge, skills, and experience. And my clients have bucket loads of knowledge, skills, and experience. Instead, the underlying problem is our problems with confidence under pressure. And the well-worn path of confidence-boosting hype doesn't work. In fact, it does more harm than good, draining our energy and distracting our focus. And the more we psych ourselves up, the more pressure we add to an already pressured situation. And in spite of all of our efforts and energy, the resulting manufactured facade of pseudo-confidence quickly fades due to lack of substance behind the facade, and nothing really changes. So I started to ask some questions. What is confidence? How does it work? Where does it come from? And how can I be so confident in some situations and then completely lack confidence in other situations? What makes it appear and then disappear? Where does it appear from and where does it disappear to? And how can I be truly confident anywhere, anytime? And with questions, answers began to emerge, resulting in the insights, principles, and practices in the stretch zone. So here's an example, which I hope you find helpful. Recently, a multinational pharmaceuticals company asked for help with a difficult situation that was holding back their product delivery pipeline. The situation was essentially like this. Their leaders, who had received considerable training on difficult conversations over no less than 2 extensive and expensive modules, were continuing to avoid difficult conversations, not putting what they had learned into practice. And the reality is, more training would be unlikely to make any difference. If what we're doing doesn't work, there's no sense in repeating what doesn't work. When we cut to the chase, the underlying reason why their leaders were not applying their learning in practice was the reality that these challenging situations inevitably bring pressure. And under pressure, just like everyone else, their confidence disappears just when they need it most. And in the absence of confidence, they hold themselves back, avoiding difficult conversations at considerable cost to themselves and to their organizations. While it's relatively easy to be trained on handling difficult conversations, the reality is handling difficult conversations in practice is not so easy when we don't have the confidence to put what we've learned into practice. In summary, the Stretch Zone shares our very human story of what happens to our ideas, talent and potential under pressure, demystifying confidence, helping us to understand an age-old problem differently. The Stretch Zone emerged out of years and years of coaching and facilitating in talent teams and leadership, where talented high performers, in spite of their knowledge, skills and experience, were holding themselves back under pressure, and the well-worn path of confidence-boosting hype wasn't working. The Stretch Zone's about channeling our efforts and energy differently. And as we learn to connect with ourselves and with our confidence differently, everything changes. Thank you. I wish you all the best discovering your magic in your stretch zones. Trust yourself, be yourself, and enjoy yourself. Bye now.